Do you have to hide your feelings to be a professional? It's a question that kind of challenges everything we've been taught about surviving at work. You know the drill. Walk into the office, check your humanity at the door, put on that robotic mask, and manage from a safe, emotional distance. But what if that whole conventional corporate wisdom is literally completely backwards?
That brings us to a pretty stark reality. Too many good people become bad bosses, and bad bosses are a major source of unhappiness in our world and dysfunction in our workplace. Honestly, it's incredibly validating to hear that out loud, right? The truth is, most bosses out there secretly worry they aren't doing a good job. They really want to be effective, they want to earn respect, but they are absolutely terrified of messing it up. So what happens? They resort to being overly harsh, or on the flip side, overly accommodating, and both of those extremes just breed massive dysfunction.
Okay, so let's dive into this explainer on Kim Scott's Radical Candor. This isn't just another management buzzword. It's a framework designed to completely revolutionize how we lead. It actually teaches us how to build deep, trusting relationships and get incredible collaborative results entirely without acting like a robot or losing our humanity along the way. To make this philosophy really easy to digest, we're going to break it down into 6 practical chunks: the good boss dilemma, defining radical candor, the feedback quadrant, rethinking ambition and growth, the get stuff done wheel, and finally, better communication habits.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the good boss dilemma, and look at the myths of the modern manager.
Before we can really learn how to manage well, we have to actively disrupt some deeply ingrained corporate thinking about what it actually means to lead. To truly care personally about the people you work with, we've got to shatter 2 massive myths. Myth number 1 is this idea that professionalism somehow requires bearing your emotions. Nope. In reality, you have to bring your whole self to work. You literally need to let your team know you as a real person. Vulnerabilities, quirks, the whole shebang, because that makes it safe for them to do the exact same thing. And myth number 2, that's the toxic belief that bosses are somehow inherently superior. Listen, being a boss is just a role. It's a job description. It doesn't define your value as a human being, and it certainly doesn't dictate how smart you are compared to the rest of your team.
Moving along to Section 2, defining radical candor, which is really the antidote to that robotic professionalism we just talked about. The entire radical candor philosophy is anchored on 2 simple intersecting axes. On the vertical axis, we've got care personally, which, again, is that antidote to robotic professionalism. And on the horizontal axis, we have challenge directly. That's all about setting really high standards and being willing to make the tough calls. Radical candor lives right there in the sweet spot, the top right quadrant where these 2 dimensions intersect.
Which leads us to a really clear definition. Radical candor is giving someone clear, honest feedback for their benefit and helping them understand how it moves them toward their goals. Now, I want to be clear. The goal here isn't just to be blunt or harsh. It's about building genuine trust. Because when your team actually knows you care about them on a personal level, your honest, direct feedback paves the way for superior collaborative results. It prevents that toxic resentment from building up.
All right, Section 3, the feedback quadrant, or as I like to call it, where feedback usually goes horribly wrong. Because let's face it, we don't always hit that perfect top right quadrant, do we? The crucial point here is understanding how our daily feedback can so easily go off the rails. Keep in mind, these represent behaviors, not permanent personality traits. So, if you challenge directly but fail to care personally, you fall into obnoxious aggression. If you neither care nor challenge, you're practicing manipulative insincerity. Maybe you're just looking out for yourself. And if you care deeply but fail to challenge, you're trapped in ruinous empathy. Let's look a bit closer at those negative extremes because they're traps we fall into all the time. Ruinous empathy is when you withhold necessary feedback just to avoid conflict or spare someone's feelings. But here's the thing, accepting subpar work sends the exact wrong message. It forces other team members to carry the burden, and ultimately, it stunts that person's growth. It's not actually kind. On the flip side, obnoxious aggression is criticizing without showing any care. That just comes across as arrogant, it immediately puts people on the defensive, and it absolutely destroys trust. Navigating away from those traps isn't always smooth sailing. In fact, Kim Scott makes a brilliant point. If nobody is ever mad at you, you probably aren't challenging your team enough. That's a powerful thought, right? Temporary friction is often just a necessary byproduct of pushing your team to be their absolute best. You can't let the fear of someone being momentarily upset push you right back into ruinous empathy.
Let's shift gears into Section 4, rethinking ambition and growth. This is all about managing trajectories, not labels.
To really succeed here, we need to completely rethink our team dynamics. We need to focus on personal growth instead of just, blindly climbing the traditional corporate ladder. Managing effectively means you're mapping opportunities to your team members based on their current life stages and their specific growth trajectories. You genuinely have to know your direct reports well enough to understand what they want out of their careers at this specific moment in time.
This generally breaks down into two vital profiles. On one side, we have superstars. These are people currently on a steep growth trajectory. They're highly ambitious and they're absolutely perfect for pushing new boundaries. On the other side, we have rock stars. These are people on a more gradual growth trajectory, and they provide that essential stability and reliable, everyday excellence. But the absolutely key takeaway here is that neither of these is a permanent label. A rock star today might become a superstar next year, or vice versa, depending on what's happening in their life. So don't put people in boxes. Both are absolutely vital for a functioning, healthy team.
Moving to Section 5, the Get Stuff Done wheel. Time to talk about driving results collaboratively.
This entire concept is about achieving results collaboratively that you could never possibly pull off individually. And to do that, you simply cannot skip any of these 6 crucial steps. First, you listen to your team's ideas and clarify the problems. Make sure everyone's on the same page. Second, you debate the ideas rigorously, but you focus on facts, not egos. Third, you decide based on those facts to break any ties. Fourth, you persuade the rest of the team by addressing their emotional responses and clearly showing the logic. Fifth, you execute. And yes, that means the boss gets their hands dirty too. Finally, you learn from the results and you start the whole thing over. Following this exact sequence prevents dictatorial management and it builds deep, lasting consensus.
Finally, Section 6, Better Communication Habits. Let's get into the tactical execution.
Concepts and ideas are great, but tactical execution is where the magic actually happens. So here are your essential rules of engagement for feedback. First, give it immediately while the details are still fresh. Otherwise, those frustrations are just going to build up. Second, face-to-face is always best. You need to be able to read body language, so please avoid email or text for tough conversations. But I really want to emphasize the golden rule here. Praise in public to show everyone exactly what success looks like, and criticize in private. Give the person the grace and space to process the feedback and move forward positively.
When you do give that feedback, try using this highly practical tool, the Situation Behavior Impact Technique. It's super simple. You state the exact situation, the specific behavior you saw, and the resulting impact. So instead of vaguely saying, "You're brilliant," you would say something like, "In today's meeting, you explained the solution so clearly that the client immediately signed the contract." See the difference? This keeps your feedback precise, it keeps it humble, and it keeps it completely free of arrogant assumptions.
And that perfectly illustrates our final core principle. Caring personally is good. Personalizing is bad. We absolutely must focus on the work being done rather than attacking someone's fundamental personality. If you call someone lazy or greedy, not only is it often inaccurate, but it immediately puts them on the defensive and makes the actual problem incredibly hard to solve. The mantra here is, criticize the work, support the person.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer. I want to leave you with a really powerful, provocative question to reflect on. Look at your daily interactions and ask yourself, are your relationships helping your team do the best work of their lives? Because if they aren't, it might be time to step back, reevaluate your approach, and ask yourself, do you have to hide your feelings to be a professional?